Okay, greetings everybody. We're going to come up to you with this report. This is out of the activist post, and I thought this was very interesting. Now, for those that thought that Fukushima was something that was dead in the water, and because you don't hear it on your mainstream media on these type of things, I think this is very interesting. This is from the activist post, and I'm going to discuss a little bit about this. Fukushima aftermath: 98% of the Pacific Ocean floor covered by dead sea creatures. Now, again, we have people saying this is a fulfillment of Revelation 8 regarding the third trumpet. Okay, and so I want to go ahead and take you to that right now. And again, we need to look at this very clearly and very closely. The book of Revelation isn't a book that we can just read and say, oh, there we go, we have it. Okay, this is it. Whereas things can be a prelude to these, the third angel and these types of things. And there's an individual that's saying that the second and third trumpet has already sounded, and his prophecy is fulfilled and these types of things. But anyways, Revelation 8:8. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. And a third part of the sea became blood. Okay. Some people will justify that as, the oil disaster. I don't think so. But is it a prelude of things to come? I think absolutely. I think when it says a third part of the sea became blood, I think it's going to be actually a copy of the waters in Egypt turning to blood in the time of the plagues, the 10 plagues of Egypt. I think it's going to be a carbon copy of what was done in Exodus. It's going to be literal blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. And the third part of the ships were destroyed. Now the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, or bitter, poisoned. And many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter. Now, obviously, this is freshwater sources and these types of things. And, we got people trying to justify this and, hey, this is a fulfillment of the third trumpet and these types of things. But I just don't see it. I don't see it. It talks about a great star from heaven, falling into, a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. Now, could it be a literal star, or could it be a great star as in an angel, a fallen angel? Because sometimes a star in prophecy is referenced as an angel. Okay, so there are things that we have to consider when studying the book of Revelation. And we can't just come to the conclusion because of what other people say and what theology has taught and stick with those guns. We have to read and search the scriptures ourselves. And if God so chooses to bring things into light in the book of Revelation that needs to be brought out, we will know about it. I personally think we are definitely going to know when the third part of the sea becomes blood. Again, I believe that is going to be a literal event. That is going to be literal blood, the third part of the sea. Okay? Now, I am also going to be sharing with you some interesting information. But this is what I think this represents more. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Now, we can compare Scripture with Scripture and see the comparisons of that. But also, as we are in these times of sorrow, which I believe we are still in, we are not in the Great Tribulation yet. The time of the Great Tribulation coincides with these trumpets and the seals and the bowl judgments. But clearly, we can read that we are in the beginning of sorrows. With the first four seals, I believe, possibly already being opened. Because if you look at the first four seals, it talks about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And you can look at each category of the four horsemen and compare it to Matthew 24. And you can see very strong comparisons there. But anyways, this is just some scripture I wanted to share with you before I got into the articles. I'm not going to read all of these articles, but I'm going to post links to these articles, especially one news source, which has got a whole bunch of videos. I haven't watched them yet, but I want you to, I'm going to watch them, but I want you to watch them for yourselves, and you guys decide, if these are legit claims or not. But according to Michael Snyder, according to an absolutely shocking study that has just been released, one area of the Pacific Ocean floor was 98% covered by decomposing sea creatures in July 2012. 98% covered. But in March 2012 only 1% of that same section of the Pacific Ocean floor was covered by dead sea creatures. Now, and it goes on to say, National Geographic recently published a very interesting article about this study of the Pacific Ocean floor. The scientists running the study cannot really explain the very strange changes that they have observed since 2011, and the quote goes like this from National Geographic. In March 2012, less than 1% of the sea floor beneath Station M was covered in dead sea cells. By July 1st, more than 98% of it was covered in the decomposing organisms, according to the study published this week in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The major increase in activity of deep sea life in 2011 and 2012 weren't limited to Station M, though. Other ocean research stations reported similar data. Although climate change is a leading contender for explaining the major increases in 2011 and 2012. Again, this is quoting National Geographic, okay, so you gotta kind of look beyond the whole climate, global warming nonsense. However, says that these spikes could be part of a longer-term trend that scientists haven't yet observed. And here we go. Even though they do not have a scientific explanation for what is happening, the scientists are admitted that they have never seen a die-off of this magnitude in the 24 years that this study has been going on. Quote, in the 24 years of this study, the past 2 years have been the biggest amounts of this detritus by far, says study leader Christine Hufford, a marine biologist at the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute in California. Could this phenomenon possibly be related to what has been going on in Fukushima? And again, he's right when he says this should be a fair question to ask, especially in light of all the other sea creatures' deaths that have been happening all over the Pacific. The following is a short excerpt from a recent CNN article. Quote, one of my favorite sayings right now is we may be experiencing global weirding. Jim Covell at the Monterey Bay Aquarium said. The Pacific recently has seen its fair share of weird. Last year there was an invasion of Humboldt squid around coastal California and sea lion dying off in worrying numbers. And in recent weeks, disturbingly, sea stars from Alaska to San Diego are wasting away, literally melting. So what in the world will cause sea stars to begin literally melting? Once again, scientists do not have an answer, but clearly something definitely appears to be significantly affecting life throughout the Pacific Ocean. Now, you got to remember, One person, and this one article says that uh, that the Pacific Ocean is 1/3 of the world's waters. Um, well, you got to actually look and see what all the deep seas are. Okay, we have the Pacific Ocean, we have the Atlantic Ocean. We have the Arctic Ocean. Uh, and yes, the Pacific Ocean is one massive large body of water. But again, there's not enough proof uh, to say that this is a legitimate fulfillment of the third trumpet blast or the second trumpet blast. Could this be leading to it? One could argue that fact, but I cannot see. I don't see this happening because so much still has to happen regarding the second angel sounding his trumpet. So those that are making this claim that this is a fulfillment of the second or third trumpet uh, are in error. Um, so, but clearly something definitely appears to be significantly affecting life throughout the Pacific Ocean. In fact, one very experienced Australian adventurer has stated that he felt as though the ocean itself was dead as he journeyed from Japan to San Francisco recently. Now listen to this. This is very interesting. This is a quote from this adventurer. The next leg of the long voyage was from Osaka to San Francisco, and for most of that trip, the desolation was tinged with nauseous horror and a degree of fear. After we left Japan, it felt as if the ocean itself was dead. This is what McFadden said, this adventurer. We hardly saw any living things. We saw one whale, sort of rolling helplessly on the surface, with what looked like a big tumor on its head. It was pretty sickening. He goes on further to say, I've done a lot of miles on the ocean in my life, and I'm used to seeing turtles, dolphins, sharks, and big flurries of feeding birds. But this time, for 3,000 nautical miles, there was nothing alive to be seen. In place of the missing life was garbage in astounding volumes. Part of it was the aftermath of the tsunami that hit Japan a couple of years ago. The wave came in over the land, picked up an unbelievable load of stuff, and carried it out to sea, and it's still out there everywhere you look. And that can't be denied. You find the pictures and the proof all over. You still see little hints and pieces of mainstream news covering it, but it's like in like the back of their archives and their newspapers and or on the TV news. It's like mentioned at the very last thing, or they do like maybe a 10-second snippet of it, but they don't consider it as an important issue. Um, but going further in the article, shouldn't someone out there be trying to put all of the pieces together and asking if Fukushima could somehow be responsible for all of this? So that's one. Um, that's one piece of information that I found that was very interesting. And he goes on to say, but the mainstream media in the United States really doesn't talk much about Fukushima anymore. They seem to believe that it isn't a crisis worth talking about anymore. Meanwhile, dangerous radiation levels are being measured all over the country. NETC, an independent organization that collects and monitors radiation data from locations all over America, recently issued an alert for Austin, Texas, and Grand Junction, Colorado. RADCON 5 alerts have been reported in both Austin, Texas, as well as Grand Junction, Colorado. As shared on the screenshot below from the Nuclear Emergency Tracking Center, NETC, radiation levels are also way above normal background levels in St. George, Utah, and Augusta, Georgia. Posted below is a picture of what the NETC map looked like when those alerts were issued. And this was posted on the 15th of December. Here is the recent. Obviously, this is a picture of Japan. We see this at RADCON 4, right near Fukushima. So obviously, there's still radiation seeping into the ocean. Go further. and then here is the United States. All the green here is Radcon normal, Radcon 1. But you see elevated radiation here and here. You see Radcon 2, which is rising, radiation rising. Radiation going up, Radcon 3 elevated here in Michigan. You have Radcon 2 rising. You have strong radiation levels scattered all throughout the United States. Radcon 5 was basically around this area and this area here, and it's now been removed. I don't know if they took care of it or not, but I believe this is a result of everything that's happened with Fukushima. Now, here is the mass animal deaths. Now, folks, no one talks about this anymore. Even the people that were so into this, the mass die-offs, don't really mention it anymore. I still look at this, and I still pay attention to it, and once in a while, I'll still make a video about this, but the mass die-offs are still rampant and are still increasing in number. Again, what does Hosea 4:1-3 says? And I think this is more in conjunction with Hosea 4 than it is with the trumpets, at least for now. This could exactly turn into a fulfillment of the second and third trumpets blowing very easily. But I don't think, as we stand today, that the second and third trumpet has blown. Okay? Again, Hosea 4:1-3, hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, no knowledge of God in the land. Obviously, that's true in this case here in America and elsewhere throughout the world. By swearing and lying, and killing and stealing, and committing adultery, they break out, and blood touches blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Again, we see mass animal deaths since 2010 in record numbers. 783 known mass death events in 93 countries this year. I don't know if we're going to get to 1,000. I mean, it could very well happen. We're almost done with the year, so we'll have to wait and see. But you have thousands of dead fish appearing on the shores of San Roque Lake in Argentina. You have 803 manatees washed up dead this year in Florida. Seals are washing up dead, with reports of coasts being littered with them in Namibia. And there's links to all of these, so you can go and click on these yourselves. 10 tons plus of fish have died in the canal in Bante Menchi, Cambodia. Fish died in Mesne River in Vietnam. 15 dead turtles found. So, 50 plus head of cattle dead from mysterious disease in Zimbabwe. And here we see again, hundreds of birds fall dead from the sky in Virginia. So this isn't going away. It's just not being reported anymore. 700,000 chickens killed by tidal surge and flooding in Lincolnshire, England. Back on December 11th, millions of sea stars continue to die off due to mysterious disease along the entire coast of North America. 28 dolphins, hundreds of fish found dead in a river in England. It goes on and on and on. Okay, so this is not going away. Just because people have not been reporting on it doesn't mean that this has not been going away. This is still continuing, and it's continuing en masse. We are in the beginning of birth pains, folks. And the birth pains are continuing, and they are increasing in number. And, evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse. So for those of you thinking that, things are going to get better and, are going to get better, no, they are going to get worse and worse and worse. Things are not going to get better until the King of Kings and Lord of Lords return and sets up his kingdom on this earth. One more piece of information here from Before It's News on Sunday, December 15th. the title of this headline from Before It's News. Now, this is like 50-50. Okay. Some of the stuff on Before It's News you might want to take with a grain of salt. Others, if research fully can be more justified. But this is just what was posted on Before It's News. 1/3 of the world's water is now poisoned. And there's a lot of videos here you can watch. And they go into detail. High levels of radiation and snow. 10 years of Fukushima radiation crossing the Pacific Ocean. It goes into that. Oceans of the Dead, What You Aren't Being Told. This is like a mini documentary, I guess. And the YouTube description for this video was is as follows. The Fukushima radiation is not only out of control, it is putting in danger life as we know it. 300 tons of radioactive groundwater is leaking into the Pacific Ocean every day. Nuclear experts say Japan's disaster is intensifying and there shall be no happy ending. All sea life will eventually die. So will we. This guy's a little bit eccentric. Alright, so the scoop is that TEPCO is dumping radioactive water into the Pacific at the same time that a key company official has admitted that the problem is not under control. Furthermore, the becquerel per kilogram allowed amount in Japan is 100 kilograms, compared to 10 times more in America at 1,000 becquerels per kilogram. The cover-up fully extends to hospitals in Japan, where there are cases of open rashes on people's faces and burns. Yet health staff are warned by superiors to cover that up. Now the becquerel count is thousands of times above the Japanese legal limit. And it goes on further and further. I mean, just by the language, rhetoric, and stuff like that, you gotta kind of take it with a grain of salt. But you guys watch the videos on these. I'll post a link below, and you can see for yourself. The Pacific Ocean is 1/3 of the world's seas, and its waters and everything in it is dying. Has it died? No, but is dying. So is this a full fulfillment of the third trumpet blasted? No, it's not. But like I said, is this a prelude? It very well could be. The basis of the entire food chain, krill, plankton, is poisoned with radiation, and 1/3 of the world's water is poisoned with radiation as well, even the snow. There is nothing that anyone can do except pray, hope, and be aware that these are apocalyptic days we are living in. And I do believe so. These are the times of sorrows. We are in the beginning of sorrows now. We have been, I believe, since 2008. This has been a report that I wanted to share with you. The links will be posted below. And I thought this was very interesting information regarding this. But again, we have to be very careful on how we place certain prophetic events in Scripture into certain events that are happening. Even though they may sound big, but there are certain things that have to happen in order to consider a prophecy fulfilled in Scripture. And there's a lot more to the second angel sounding than just the third part of the sea dying. The sea's got to become blood, turn to blood, and these types of things. So obviously we're seeing one aspect of it, but not another. It's kind of like when someone falls in love with another person and they have a kid, and they say, well, you got to accept me and the kid. You got to accept the whole package deal, or else we're not going to work. Well, it's the same thing with this. When you look at Revelation 8:8 and 8:9, and it says a third part of the sea became blood, which is clearly one part of the ocean, and it says a third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. There's two aspects there. Sea becomes blood, Creatures in the sea. Third part of the creatures. Third part of the ships destroyed. Third part of the creatures in the sea dies. We have to have both those aspects happening. Okay, we can't just separate it into two different events. Just because we see something that excites us and we want to say, "Hey, this is a fulfillment of this." No, we have to look back and just read the scriptures and see what it says. Because a lot of people jump the gun, and that's where we get caught up in deception. So, and that's the very first thing that Jesus said is, "Be careful that no man deceives you." And we got a lot of deception going on these days, especially on YouTube and on the social networks. So please be careful. This has been a news report. I hope this has been informative. I hope this has helped you and blessed you. Truth be told, truth be known, stay safe. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.